Welcome to Cybersecurity from Scratch Part 11, the halting problem. This may or may not be the last video in this particular series, so enjoy it while it's here. Well, every once in a while we get to create a cybersecurity program from scratch, but every once in a while, pencils down, you need to stop. We were notified at the beginning of this week that we should stop all efforts on the Pathfinder and Pathkeeper, as well as the CIO and related activities. Just so you know, there's every possibility that this could continue in the future, maybe in a different form, maybe soon, maybe not. We don't really know. But right now, everything's stopped unless and until something else happens. So you're going to ask me the reasons for this. I know that that's the case, but too bad. I can't tell you. And not because anything nefarious happened, but rather because the people in the company know that this is about the company. So anything that we would say might interfere with the normal operations of the company and create unnecessary, havoc for good or bad reasons. And so we just don't want to comment on that. Having said that, all right, so it's stopped. That's how it is. But we've accomplished some pretty substantial things in 10 weeks. That's 10 weeks starting at the end of the Pathfinder. For example, we got about 40 key decisions made and approved. We got an initial security awareness training, created and approved, and an awareness booklet as well. We got the initial backups done. And maybe more importantly than just getting those backups done is the fact that we got people to understand that we need to do backups. We got an architecture in draft form and completed for a more secure path in the future. And this draft architecture it's not fully fleshed out, but on the other hand, it is there's enough detail so it could actually work. And the implementation we started to look through, and so tested components of it. So at this point, somebody could pick up the ball and run with that and have a much better situation than when they started in terms of cybersecurity, but also in terms of operational continuity, which is of course part of cybersecurity, and in terms of sleeping better at night for the executives in the company. We also started to operate an initial counterintelligence solution, which is important. So it turns out that the solution that they're using right now is fairly trivial, but on the other hand, every day they're getting alerts about things that affect their image and brand. And that's very important in terms of brand protection, especially, when you're a company that doesn't have the wherewithal to, let's say, compensate for massive problems in public relations. You need to find it quickly and kill it quickly. So at least they have that operating and some other potentials in that space. We've built an initial interdependency model. So now they know what depends on what. In fact, did an initial inventory of applications and systems and people, and reconciled that with consequences. So that's actually very useful and important, because now they know what's there and what they're using and what it depends on and what they need, and also a substantial amount about what it's going to cost to go forward and potentially expand on a per unit basis, per number of workers or what have you. Initial documentation standards are operating, and formal sign-offs on decisions are now something that they have that they didn't have before. And then the other thing is, just by updating the metrics in GWiz, we've, from when they started to where they are now, we know that they've moved about 30% of the way from maturity none in terms of their cybersecurity program, again, to defined. And so they have some things in initial and some things in repeatable, and they're making progress. Also, we haven't updated the metrics to reflect the last, several weeks of effort. So it's likely that they're more on the lines of, 35% of the way, which is, tremendous progress, moving from no program to a defined program that has repeatable processes and practices, that's a pretty substantial step and a difficult thing to do. So why was it going? Just why was it stopping? Look, there was no nefarious reason here, and this gets to the conclusions. I wish it wasn't true that programs to move cybersecurity forward start and end, based on poor decisions and very often for the wrong reasons. It's quite common for a program to start or be invigorated, if you will, when bad things happen. There was no bad thing that happened here. There was no incident that started it or anything like that. It was just, concerns by the top executive team over the intellectual property and the potential consequences of failures. And, these people put in years of effort and millions of dollars, out of their own pockets and relying on acquaintances and friendships that they have. So they certainly don't want this to fail. And so those concerns, in light of the events happening in the world, came to a head, and they decided to move forward. In terms of why it stopped, again, I can't tell you the particulars of why it stopped, but I can tell you it wasn't for some bad reason. It wasn't because there was some incident. It wasn't because, somebody did something crazy, right? It's not because some insider is trying to subvert the system and doesn't want security in place. And we've seen that in other situations before. So in any case, the program is, ended or perhaps paused. We don't know. It could easily restart. It could restart, next week, in which case we may or may not have a next part of this series. You never know. But in any case, hopefully, this has brought to light some things, some understanding, some issues of paths, ways to move forward. And hopefully, our readers, our listeners have gained some insight from going through this process with us and with the company. And again, I want to thank, this company for allowing us to do this. This is a truly unusual sort of thing. And not only do I want to thank them, but I can't tell you who they are. So talk about benevolence. They can't even claim credit for it. But in any case, I hope you'll enjoy some of our other stuff, other recordings, other articles, and I hope you've gotten some interest and some insight out of this series. Thank you.